What, you? Nah, of course not. None of this is your fault. It's totally all our fault. Nah, I'm sure everything is gonna work out fine. We're all screwed because of this bitch. We open this week with a quick little reminder of our quote-unquote main heroine's little screw-up. This was especially apparent in Cook Kingdom, as Goldots was able to collect every food fairy across the 2 dimensions. The effects weren't immediate for actually clever reasons that we'll get to in just a minute, but for now, the Precure figured that they could try to combine their remaining delicious stones with Secretor's full stone to stop Goldots. Sure enough though, it didn't have that much power left, and even if it did, Goldots could probably remotely shut it off anyway. Thus, even the villainess who was trying to perfectly switch sides couldn't do it, frustrating her. Rosemary did try to comfort her, even saying that she could right the wrongs of her past, which of course reverberated with Yui, who... And this is why the pink leads are gonna be taking next year off. Okay, to be fair, she did at least acknowledge her huge mistake, and even when her enabler friends tried to comfort her by encouraging her to do more of her stress eating, it really didn't help. I mean, Yui's mistake can't just be hand-waved away, so I will give them credit for at least having her feel the repercussions of it. And again, her friends weren't all that helpful, especially when they tried to tell her tales of false equivalency. Get it? Because he's quoted queer, hence why this is such a big deal to him. Seriously, was there any real reason why Rosemary needed to be gay? But yeah, that stuff aside, this was still a fairly well done scene that let Yui's emotions speak for themselves and... You had one good scene, and you screwed the pooch. Congratulations, you cheap knockoff of a much cooler granny. Anyway, Goldots activated his ultimate plan, which was to erase all food from existence, and yet not erase the memory that there had been food in the first place. Yeah, unlike Secretor's spell, he purposely let everyone at least hold some memory of food behind in order to hold a massive bargaining chip over the whole planet, which was to serve him in exchange for nourishment. And to be fair, this is a simple, and yet decent plan, like something a certain big-headed mouse would come up with. It's logistically kind of insane, as I don't know how you can keep track of the specific nutritional needs of everyone on the planet, with stuff like allergies being a thing, but whatever, points for at least thinking up the major bullet points. It certainly shook up the residents of Cook Kingdom, including legitimately one of the most criminally underused characters in this whole show. Seriously, Sephiri is Goldots' student, so why doesn't she get a bigger role here at least? Anyway, 3 out of 4, or rather really all of our main heroines, went to fight the big bad directly. Translation, stay here so that you don't screw anything else up. Yeah, at this point, I don't even really see a point to include Yui as a part of the lineup anymore. Then again, it is kind of telling when objectively, most of the fighting this week was being done by Rosemary, not the Cures. I mean, not only was he the only one who exchanged direct fisticuffs with Goldots, but he also managed to seal off his original stone with his own. Yeah, he still has his full stone, but still, that's technically the biggest blow they've managed to land on the big bad. So I have to ask, is this really the Precure or the Cook Fighter show? Well, we're gonna get the answer to that soon enough. Back with Yui, she is visited by the boy who could have prevented all of this if not for her. Yeah, you could say killing Goldots would be wrong, but more likely he would have KO'd him, especially since he was just playing possum. But now, even though anger is a legitimate emotion that you can fight evil with, we had to bring in one more granny quote that I'm not even going to waste a capital clip on at this point. Yeah, hello. My toaster oven kind of broke, so I was just wondering if the warranty was still good on it. But yeah, there was also a side plot between Sector and Kokore's mom, who she was a fan of. I guess it was supposed to add to the former's face turn and even show how Kokore is more of a leader than Yui at this point, really just adding to that whole blue thing. But yeah, again, I still maintain that anger is a legitimate emotion, and trying to say that everything in life needs to be met with a smile is just ridiculous. But of course, this was all meant to give Yui a pass for her legit big mistake from the person she screwed over the most. And you know, I think one of my commenters put it best when they said that this show is a perfect example of toxic positivity. After all, happiness means nothing if you don't acknowledge the negative aspects in your life, which this show is encouraging the viewer to just sweep under the rug with Yui's situation here.
Nice.
Anyway, they quickly tried to hide from some mini turtle bots, and rather than barricading the doors, they just listened to Yui's parents agonize over not being able to remember what they were trying to cook with their big pot. All they did know was that it was somehow related to Yui's name, which meant to bind people together, or musubu. And I guess that was the trigger word to unleash a bunch of musubi hearts that aren't exactly fairies, so I'm not even sure how the food is supposed to return like that.
The answer is don't think about it.
Anyway, while they didn't clarify what was doing this, it was obviously Ginger's device. Hooray! A man's contribution saved the day! Seriously, who shows this? I mean, again, I will give credit that they properly followed up on this plotline, so it's certainly not Deus Ex Machina or anything, but it's also not something our main heroines can really take credit for. Also, really, this device couldn't save anything besides rice.
You have too much rice in your diet, you're constipated.
Anyway, the episode ended with Yui heading off after exchanging a bro fist with Takumi that just makes me want to go back and watch Tomo-chan as a girl. At least the romance there is well built up. So, yeah, how should I put this?
I expect nothing, and I'm still let down.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, yeah, I did actually expect Yui to be easily forgiven by everyone around her, and reassured that she made the right choice in endangering all of humanity of dying of starvation. But at the same time, I wasn't expecting the title characters to take this much of a backseat, at least in terms of resolving the main conflict of their show. At this point, I'd much rather be playing with my Transformers, as it really does feel like this was meant to be a boys' show originally. I guess I can legitimately praise the show for at least properly following up on its established plot points, like Ginger's device, and Yui herself at least acknowledging her mistake. Of course, the big issue is, like many things, with the execution. Yui rightfully condemned herself, and yet her friends, including Takumi, didn't say anything other than words of coddling. Now, of course, I don't think that they should have completely buried her, but I think they should have at least have said something along the lines of, yeah, you screwed up, and if you want to make amends, stand up and get into the giant robot, or something along those lines. But no, of course the grand quote has to be the real Deus Ex Machina of this show. On that note, while we had established Ginger's device beforehand in that confusing time travel episode, like were they always meant to go back in time in order to encourage him to make it, or you know what, save it for the overview. It is still eyebrow raising that much of the final conflict is technically being handled by the Cookfires, with even Rosemary getting most of the action this week. As a result, we are ending up with a bit of a Ruby effect, where the title characters are ultimately secondary to the actual driving forces behind the main plot, which even disregarding genders, it is disheartening to see them play so little a hand in things, as they have never been given a major stake in this fight. And instead, they had to constantly undermine the tension with so much fluff, of course coming from a certain narrator, who at least had the decency to give us enough to end the season on a nice note with. But yeah, with likely one more episode to wrap up this fight, followed by the epilogue episode where we'll see the baton pass with Sora, all I can say overall is that at least next season's opening sounds like a real banger. Sorry to say we didn't get the Precure review out this week like we said we would. Never counted this idiot to get anything done on time. Still, I can guarantee it'll be out next week, both so that we can get back to working on the Futai reviews, as well as be on standby for any more Hirogaru Sky announcements, which at this point could not come any sooner. So look forward to it. Until then though, farewell for now, my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go get a new toaster oven. I mean, I'd much rather have toast in the morning rather than rice, especially after this show.